Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Candace and I am a brand new eBay reseller. I opened up my business, it's been I think 45 days, so almost 2 months ago, and wow, oh wow, I have learned so much just in the first 6-7 weeks alone, and I am here to tell you about all of my must-haves as a brand new reseller. Okay, so these must-have tools, I am going to break up into two different buckets. I'm going to talk about the must-have tools that are your physical tools, and then also some digital ones that I would highly recommend and consider if you are brand new to reselling. I have my trusty legal pad here filled with notes, and I'm ready to share everything with you. Okay, first off, I know that there are basics, right? Like the must-have to start the business of reselling online. Like for example, you need your phone that has like a camera on it to take pictures and manage your business from there. Or you can have like a camera partnered with a computer, so you can like picture stuff and put it on your computer. That's like the bare minimum, right? Like bare minimum, you have to do that in order to run the business. These items I'm talking about in this video are going to be must-haves if you want to be good at running this business. And I'm really trying. I'm working hard every shopping trip I go on and every listing I do. I'm like gradually trying to improve it so that I can increase my profit margins, sell things quicker, and so forth. So those are the items that I will be discussing in this video. First thing that I'm going to talk about is a measuring stick. So I have this handy measuring stick that actually folds up into a 1-foot stick, or it folds out to be a full yard stick. I actually found this while I was sourcing some goods at an estate sale like a month ago, and I love it. It's great. So for larger items, I can go ahead and measure those. And you're thinking to yourself, what do you need a yardstick or a what do you need a measuring stick for in the first place? Well, one, you want to measure items to know how big they are, potentially for shipping purposes, right? You have to measure them in order to know what box you need, or you need to measure your box when you're purchasing your shipping labels. You need to know how big the box is when you're purchasing your shipping labels ahead of time. And then also in your listings. So it's funny, I try and think about listings as a buyer, because that's essentially what I have been all the way up until me starting this reselling business. I've just been someone who's shopped online. And so whenever I've seen listings on like reselling platforms like eBay and so forth, I feel like I can trust a listing better when I see a hard good pictured next to a measuring stick. And that doesn't count for everything, but I feel like the person who is selling me that item is trying to give me a very accurate depiction of what that item is. And so as a buyer, I feel like I've always trusted those listings more. And so that's what I'm now trying to do in my listings, where it makes most sense or where it's applicable, for like that size matters. And so picturing an item next to the measuring stick has, I feel like, given my listings a better edge versus other listings that don't have a measuring stick pictured with it, that that gives the true and accurate understanding of what that item is and how big it is. Just to note, I did start off, instead of using a measuring stick, I did start off using a tape measure from my husband's tool chest in the garage, and that totally worked at first. I would say I'd prefer the yardstick over that for the reason of like balance. So I noticed, like when I was trying to take pictures with the measuring tape, it next to an item, sometimes like the angle was weird, because on measuring tapes, they kind of like curve in a little bit. And so picturing it just wasn't easy. And sometimes they just don't sit there next to, on top of, it was kind of hard to wield around. So all in all, I prefer that over the other. Second item I feel is a must-have tool is a fabric measuring tape. I have this really nifty one that kind of recoils back into itself, and I absolutely love it. I use this to measure all of the clothing that I sell, and I don't do my listings pictured with a yardstick or a measuring tape. I did when I first started. So like if you check out my eBay store, you'll see some that have it in the picture. I didn't really like the way that it kind of fell across the clothing, and you had to angle it correctly over, like taking the picture just seemed weird. And so I am now leaning towards doing just hand measurements on my clothing items that I'm listing, and I'm putting those measurements in the item description. And I was able to counsel my aunt who does reselling, and she resells a lot of clothes. And I asked her, I'm like, what is it that people care about as far as like measurements go? And I didn't want to like be taking forever to measure all up and down an item of clothing, because it takes time, right? Time and effort. And I also didn't want to like under deliver in the description either. So what I'm doing for each of my clothing listings is measuring from shoulder to hem, and then I'm doing pit to pit, and if applicable, I do sleeve length. So I would love to hear from other sellers out there who provide measurements in the item descriptions. Like, what is it that you are doing? And do people even ask about this? Am I overdoing it in that? I'm not sure, but I do say that it is definitely a must-have item, whether you provide the measurement in the listing or not, just for the functionality, needing to know how accurate an item is, like being able to use that measuring tape. So those are the two measuring tools on that part. And then the last item is, yes, you guessed it, another measuring tool. And this one comes with a story. So I'm new, right? And I'm like figuring out as I go along. And if you are new too, learn from my mistakes. So I had watched another YouTube video that it was a really nifty way to save time is to go onto eBay, find the item that you're wanting to sell. And in this case, it was a Reed & Barton jewelry chest, and go on there, and you can go on eBay and find that item and then scroll all the way to the bottom of that listing. And you can click a button that says a list similar item. And I was like, okay, let me check it out. Let me try it. And I've done it with other listings too. And I was like, wow, this saves so much time. Like this is the same identical item as mine. This person has already input all the information, right? Because it takes time. You like got to go through the drop-ins. You got to make sure that you put in details about the item. Like making a listing takes time. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I'm going to save myself so much time. So for this jewelry chest I found to resell, this item was large, and this was before I had purchased, which is my third item that is, I'm telling you, an absolute must-have. That if any physical item that you're going to try and get day one of you starting your eBay reselling business, it is a POSTAL scale. Why I didn't have this from day one, I was not thinking about the end in mind, and I didn't end up realizing how crucial this is until I started making sales. And not only is it crucial to weigh your item accurately ahead of time because you want to purchase your shipping labels at home, which I explain in my shipping snafus in another video up here. But secondly, it is so crucial in the listing part. So back to the Reed & Barton jewelry chest. I go on and I find this item and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll go ahead and I'll just relist this. And I didn't have a postal scale at the time. And so I just trusted the information that was in there. This is one of the biggest takeaways I'm having from my very limited time I've had so far on reselling on the eBay platform, at least. You cannot always trust other people's listings. they have inaccuracies and sometimes they don't list accurately. So I sold this Reed & Barton jewelry chest recently, and I go to, fast forward, I get my postal scale at home because I'm realizing along other listings and other sales that I needed one. Well, I sell this Reed & Barton jewelry chest, and I go to create my shipping label at home, and oh my gosh, the listing that I had used to reference and list a similar item on was completely off on the weight and dimensions. And so I did have the person who purchased it from me, the buyer, pay for calculated shipping. So they paid for shipping, but it was calculated shipping depending on where they lived in the country. And it was off by $20 worth of shipping. And I totally was bumming about that. So when you're listing your item, just go ahead and do yourself a favor. Purchase this physical item right now if you are thinking about starting an eBay business. It is not expensive. It was the best $20 that I have spent for investment so far for physical tools. So I will put in the description below a link to the one that I purchased. I got it on eBay, and the person that I purchased from, it looks like they had a bunch in stock, so that's probably a regular item that they sell. So check it out, buy it, because it will save you from future Reed & Barton trusted other listing snafu like mine. Okay, on to the next. Before we go on to the digital tools, I want to just share with you, this is actually not a physical tool must-have, but a physical tool I wish I didn't get. When I first started my business, I was so excited, and I thought to myself, I'm going to be making all these sales. I need a heavy-duty, tape dispenser because I'm going to be taping up all these packages and so forth. Yes, I have made sales, and I have packaged up a handful of boxes, but this tape dispenser has been really tough for me to use. I think just over the last years of me having kids back to back, and I'm always holding a baby in one arm and cooking with the next, I have injured my wrists over time. And I don't have strong wrists, or sometimes I get some pains in my wrist. And so wielding this thing around has not been fun in the slightest. And so if you're a person who does not have strong wrists, or you have any kind of wrist issues, do not, no matter how many sales you're making, I do not recommend that you get this tape dispenser. It may seem to be something that will help and be efficient and quick. I just found that it's just too hard and heavy to wield around. So get yourself just the basic run-of-the-mill one that's easy and lightweight, and you'll thank me later. Okay, now on to the digital tools. There are 3 digital tools that are absolute must-haves when starting your reselling business. All 3 of them are apps. So I personally sell on the eBay platform, and I know that there are many people who watch who do other platforms, or you're thinking about doing another platform. I'm not sure. But I will say, number 1 for your digital tool that is a must-have and learning how to navigate is the platform you sell on itself. And that sounds silly, but if you just don't understand and know how to use the selling platform in the ways that are going to benefit you, then you're not going to be able to maximize potential profits. Specifically on eBay, one thing to just figure out and know right off the bat is how to figure out and navigate where sold comps are. So if you're looking up an item on the fly and you research that item, and I'll demonstrate it here, you can look up that item and say, I have a specific thing that I want to sell, and I want to know how much it's worth. Or you're shopping and you're like, okay, is this going to be a flippable item if I buy it for a certain amount, and can I sell it for a certain amount? So if you're on your app or on the app of the platform you're selling on, eBay specifically is what I'm using, you can look up that item and you can look at all the listings that are there. And this is funny because I hear this from people who are like, oh my gosh, I see something listed for such and such dollars. That's great. People can list stuff for whatever price they want all day long and have pie in the sky hopes and dreams. But what are things actually selling for, and are they actually selling? So sell-through rate is a big thing that people talk about in a lot of other YouTube videos. I am not a professional on sell-through rate, but I do know how to look up just basic, did it sell and how much did it sell for? And that's what beginners do, right? And so go ahead and click on the little sold tab section when you're looking at that item, and then it will reveal to you the sold items of the item that you're trying to sell. So that's, I think, just kind of like the 101 basics understanding, and that's where you should start when you are a brand new reseller, is like navigating your own selling platform. There is another section within the eBay selling platform. You can actually go on to like this what sells section, and it's in your selling area. You can just look up anything. If you're like sitting on a whole bunch of inventory, or you're out to go search for new inventory and you want to know, is this an item that has a good sell-through rate? eBay has that really cool feature where you can kind of just like play around with that and look stuff up as a more broad or general sense. Like if you're acquiring a whole bunch of vintage golf gear, is it going to be something that actually has a high sell-through rate, or are you just, maybe spending more time in a certain section over another? So go ahead and round and play with that one. But I feel like, navigating your own selling platform is crucial when trying to figure out, how to sell, what sells, and what to sell it for. Must-have tool that's digital. Number 2 is the Google Lens function on this Google app here. Android phones, I think, already come with this. I'm not sure. I don't have an Android phone. I have a iPhone, but I was able to download it easy. And this, I feel like, is widely known. But for me, on day one, I did not know about it. And it was a couple weeks in, I think, to me doing reselling, that I don't remember who mentioned it. Maybe it was in a comment, and then I think my husband had mentioned something to me about this. And I absolutely love this feature on this Google Lens search. So basically, you take a picture of an item if you're out and about in a store, and it takes the image on that item, and it helps you find similar images across the World Wide Web to help locate your item. This will most likely locate your item in other similar listings. So you'll see here, you can find it on, it'll kind of show sometimes it's like an eBay listing or a Poshmark listing or an Etsy listing or something like that. But either way, like, you've found this item. You're like, one, you can use it because you don't know what this item is. What is this item? And trying to find out more information about it. Or 2, you can do it to try and just find other listings that exist out there to see like what this item's even listed for. So identifying items quickly on the go, especially when you're out thrifting or sourcing goods from garage sales, estate sales, Goodwill, whatever it is, you can quickly on the go take a picture of an item and figure out what it is, potentially how much it's worth, and that's a really quick and easy way. Something to keep in mind though, if you're gonna take a picture of that item and you're gonna find another listing like it, just keep in mind that's just a listing. That doesn't give you what it actually sells for, what that item actually sells for, and sell-through rate. So you kind of have to do a little bit more digging beyond that. But this Google Lens feature is a definite must-have for new resellers, especially when you don't know much about what's out there, what it is, and what it's worth. A really great learning tool for all of us. Okay, last and certainly not least, but number 3 in my digital toolkit is a form of AI technology. And I know for those of you who are on the eBay reselling platform, it is very prominent in eBay functionality. It's now starting to help us do listing descriptions and so forth, which I'm still neither here nor there on that. I sometimes use it, sometimes use parts of the language to kind of help flesh out creativity. But in general, I still try and keep my own. But either ways, it's not about the eBay AI. What I'm talking about is Chat GPT. And I didn't hear about this from any other resellers so far, but I am starting to hear about it from others on YouTube that have kind of talked about it. But I actually fell upon this because my husband wanted to try it out for his work purposes. And it is a subscription. And so it's kind of like a financial investment right up front. $20 a month. And that's not cheap, right? $20 a month over an entire year's time. That is definitely an investment to consider. I will say though, as a new reseller, I am finding it so valuable. I know very little about a lot of what I'm shopping for. I thought I could find good deals, and I feel like I knew certain sections of what I'd be selling, but I'm finding that I'm kind of in categories where I'm sourcing items out in the wild of items I know very little to nothing about. I'm going to give you a story. This one comes with a story as well. So I was at an estate sale a few weeks ago, and I ended up acquiring a Vietnam War veterans Army dress uniform. I have never sold anything military in my life. I am not a military collector by any means. I love and honor the countrymen who have served our beautiful nation. And so I see that it is a valuable item, and I know that they resell online. And so I decided to pick up this uniform. And I bought it from the man himself. So he was the one that was holding the estate sale. He wasn't there in person, but I'm assuming he was downsizing and just wanted to get rid of all of his things. And so he ended up keeping his name badge off of it, but I did buy it directly from him. So I'm like, okay, this isn't like Army surplus stuff. Like, this is an actual named uniform. We know who it belonged to, and those fetch a really high value, and collectors will truly cherish these items. And so I actually couldn't wait to get my hands on it. That way I could find it a really great home for someone to value it. So fast forward to me bringing this uniform home, I had the monumental task of figuring out how to picture and list it. I knew nothing. I knew nothing about what was on this uniform. I just was so eager to try and find it a home to someone who would cherish it, and honor it and respect it. And so I wanted to be accurate in my description. And so what I did is I took a picture, and I ended up uploading pictures into ChatGPT, and I asked it basic questions to help give me context and understanding. And you can see here in this example of some of the questions I asked and some of the response that ChatGPT was able to provide to me. I'm going to be the first person to say to cross-reference things. Okay, so don't fully put all your eggs in one basket with ChatGPT. It is not a perfect platform. And I have seen that, there are sometimes some discrepancies, but it's a great place to start. And for the most part, and I've been using it only for a couple weeks now, it checks out a lot of the stuff that you ask it. If you try and go look in other avenues, you go on, you go to Google next and you Google similar information, you're going to be able to find that it is a pretty accurate description. I am not a professional at ChatGPT. What I am though is I'm a newbie and it gives me what is a starting point, and it gives me and a very detailed one at that. I've used it to do cross comparisons and better understand authentications for items, to be okay, is this a real Coach pea coat? What do I have to look at to know and understand if it's authentic and it's real? And so it's given me tips and tricks and knowing and understanding it. Also, manufacture dates, that has been totally mind-blowing at its ability to know and understand, dating things. And it's crazy because I'm like looking at other listings online and I'm like realizing, I'm like, oh, like there is some, and I'm not calling out all listings, but I do come across them where something is like dated as vintage. And I know because I asked ChatGPT and I clarified on the eBay website, like to classify something as vintage, it has to be a minimum of 20 years older. To classify it as an antique, it has to be 100 years or older. And so I'm looking at a listing and it's like, oh, this is such and such. This is a vintage Ralph Lauren. I think it was a Ralph Lauren golf sweater or something like that. And I was like looking at the dating on it. And when I looked up the tags on my identical item and I put it in ChatGPT and I figured out the dating on it, ended up being that this was an item that was actually produced in 2010. And while it feels old, that's technically not vintage, right? We're in the year 2025. It has to be 2005 or earlier. So anyways, I am all about accuracy in these listings. I think that I just never want to be a person who sells something to someone that is not what they expected to pay for. And so as accurate as I can be, I think that it's going to do me well in the long run. And I'll just feel better knowing that I gave someone something that was accurate. Not to mention too, I've also found that it has helped boost my profits in being able to accurately date something. I had picked up a blanket at the Goodwill bins in another video. If you go to my first Goodwill bins haul, I picked up this vintage blanket. And when I had picked it up, I looked at the tag and I knew that the tag had shown it showed that it was a vintage looking tag. Digging down into the depths of ChatGPT, asking it questions and production dates and cross-referencing what mine had and what others and all this stuff, and when companies worked with other companies, I figured out that this blanket was made in the 1940s, which I was so blown away by and helps add value to it. And so it surprised me in helping me date something accurately. It helped add value to my listing. And it happened another time too. Anyways, I could just go on and on, and I'm going on and on about how it continues to help me. And if I were to say that there is a must-have tool for any new reseller, people who are still learning products, people who are still trying to understand value, worth, dating, authentication, etc., ChatGPT is incredibly intuitive. It's so easy to use. You can ask it a whole host of questions in many different ways. So challenge it if you do have it. And I can't speak higher enough of it than to say that if there's any new resellers out there that want a tool that's going to help them, ChatGPT is definitely worth the $20 investment. And that concludes my list so far of my absolute must-have tools as a new reseller. Please, 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 anyone who's new, anyone who's experienced, please comment below. Let us all know, what are your must-have tools in your reselling business? I am constantly learning. I cannot wait to continue to learn more and hear from your experiences. I've gotten some of the best business advice from the comments below. So go ahead and check it out. Hit that subscribe button so we can continue to chat more about new reselling and hauls and all the good stuff to come. And you all have a wonderful day, and I'll chat with you soon.